uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Census.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we have a full menu. The Mo Ali situation. What's the truth? We have 2022 census. Can we trust the numbers? Violence in Liberia. The home armed robbery or a fatal armed robbery at the home of former Chief Justice Gloria Musu-Scott. We're going to be discussing all these and debating the issues. People have taken sides. People have their perspective on each of those issues. Some are from a partisan standpoint. I'm getting feedback. And so we're going to go into all that. I want to welcome from G-Talk, Glenda's Jane Jr. Welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Hello, Dennis. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here.
Yeah, there's feedback somewhere. Go ahead, Glenda. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying hello, everybody. It's a compact evening. We have a lot of topics, but it's good to be here.
And let me tell you, Glenda is independent, and I hope Jerome Gilman will agree. Let me welcome the unabashed, unapologetic Sedition. He's also the host of On Point, right here on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Jerome Gilman. Mr. Gilman, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you to the other panelists for showing up. It's going to be, tonight would seem to be like a Royal Rumble, and we are ready to tackle the issues. To dissect the issue, to separate the facts from fictions. And I'm glad to be a part of this very, very well-learned panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mr. Moba Keseli. He's the ANC Youth Secretary and also a close confidant of Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. He works directly in the office of Mr. Cummings. Mr. Keseli, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Mr. Jar. It is good to be here today. I want to say good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all our followers. It is good to be here today. And the whole plate is jam-packed with very, very interesting and quintessential issues. So it is good to be here today to contribute to the discussion.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mrs. Alice Wilson Momba. She is an independent and live right here in Metro Atlanta. Mrs. Moba, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Yes, hello, everybody. It's always good to be on Focus on Liberia, where we discuss the issue. Thank you.
Last and definitely not the least, I want to welcome Alice, you can go out and come back in to fix the audio issue there. Let me welcome Mr. Aliu Valley Kamara. He is an unrepentant Buckeye supporter. He's here tonight. Mr. Kamara, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Here we discuss the issues, even though some may have a partisan perspective, but we discuss the issue and we want to know how you feel. What's your take? And so we have comment section, also open the phone line for discussion. Let's get into it. The first issue here is the issue of Mo Ali. Some time ago, a year or so ago, there was a report that Mr. Mo Ali fathered a child out of his relationship and a younger, and the girl was pregnant, and he was trying to coerce her allegedly to commit an abortion. That didn't work, and the child is born. Of late, we got a report on the internet that a DNA result, 3 DNA results are out saying that Mr. Ali is not the father of the child. Well, as the news went on, people have all the perspective, and Mr. Mo Ali came up with a position statement and said, leave Augustina alone. He said, Augustina has gone through a lot. It's been more than 22 months of bullying. She has a life to live, and I encourage everyone to just allow her to live freely. And he went further to say that the child is innocent, and so he will continue to sponsor the child because the siblings also are already used to the child. What's going on here? We all follow the issues. We saw that some people were taking victory lap that indeed the DNA result exonerated Mr. Ali. I did not see the result though, but we saw all this posting. I want to start with the female first. Let me start with the independent-minded G Talk, Glendy. Glendy, I also saw your posting on this, so I know you follow the issue very well. As a woman, as a mother, and also as an independent mind, what's your take on this whole Mo Ali situation?
So I think I exhausted all of my thoughts on Facebook. I had a lot of postings. I had a lot of concerns. One of my central theme for my responses was to the fact that no one was a victor. Mo Ali should not have claimed victory. Neither was it a victory time for Augustina. I looked at it from the point of view that there should be a lot of lessons learned from this incident. Number one, we understand they were both adults, but the sex was consensual, but it was also unprotected to the point where Mo Ali felt that he needed to do a DNA. He needed to do it 3 times. And I think there were diverse views of opinions where you had some people, like you say, it was like a victory for more validation, trying to clear his name. I was from the train of thought that what was there to clear? I understand this lady, whatever she did to Mo was wrong. If number one, she should have known who her sexual partner was and who the father of the child was. But my point, the little disagreement I have with most things is the fact that if you are against people bullying her, and if you say in a statement that people have been bullying her for 22 months, why did you leak the DNA results? Why did you feel it necessary to leak the DNA result? Because that continued the bullying. So I think both sides, I hope they've learned lessons, and as a mother, it's difficult. I'm not going to castigate her or put her into any categories because things happen, but I hope that she has learned and that whatever she's done will not be repeated, that they both have some lessons to have learned from this incident.
But Glenn, do you know of, was the DNA result verified to say actually there was result? Because we are really hearing about report of DNA result, but not the result itself.
And this is the thing. Someone always described Liberians as a group of people who act on impulse. Every third day, every 72 hours, we have a different story that we react to. So because a lot of more Ali's confidants or his friends were the one who shared it, so we followed the story. We followed that, yes, there was a DNA, and because there has been no counter reaction to what he has said in the negative, the girl has not denied it. So we tend to want to believe that whatever he's saying is true. But if we want to compare it to the Maury Povich show, you are not the father, we do see the DNA results, but we don't see it. All we know is that a lot of people connected to him, including himself, said, and I think there was also a statement from Akara's Gray, who is her uncle. He also applauded Mo for the statement, so we can assume that there's a response from the family side, making it true that the DNA test was done. But I'm just coming from the perspective that there are lessons for both parties to learn. It's not healthy, and I'm sure they've all in some way have been damaged, but I just think that they'll do things differently next time.
Thank you. Mr. Aliyu, can you adjust your camera a little bit so we can see your face is so high? You're not that tall. So come down a little bit, Mr. Kamara. Mr. Kamara, you look very nice. I say adjust your camera.
I think I should go out and come back in, right?
No,
Yeah.
adjust your camera. Your head is cut off.
Yeah, see, but the whole thing is being distorted. I didn't hear anything the lady said, except for very few. I can
Yeah.
barely hear you. The
Okay.
voice.
Go in, go out and come back in. All right. Let me welcome P. Morris Croman. They call him the perfect manager. Mr. Croman, welcome back to the to Friday night debate. My question for you here is the Mo Ali situation. I know we are most of us men. We always put ourselves in situation we can handle. What is the and let us not forget Mo Ali is a politician, and so but what's your take? Why you think there was a need to have this DNA result or a need for Mo to clear quote unquote clear his name?
Dennis, thank you for having me. So on the Mo Ali thing, I think there is some social issues with the Liberian society that, to me, that is the that should be the crux of the conversation. I think we should take it out of the Mo Ali and the young lady situation and look at how the Liberian society itself perceives such a situation. I think, in it all, I mean, all of our quote unquote social, political, economic influences are, destroyed as a result of the conflict. I can't say this thing more than I always say. The society is bankrupt. There are issues in society that are normal, that are abnormal, but the society accepts it as normal. When Moali is a very, very good friend of mine, very, very, very close friend of mine. And I know that, he's in a very tight position because he is a political person, very influential in the political system in the country. So it's normal for someone to say, well, you know, he shouldn't have, put this thing in the public. It's true. I understand that. However, you have to see that if Moali was politically set up to be seen as irresponsible, then the how you call it, he also has a moral obligation to come back and say, well, all of the people that were bashing me and calling me all the names to say that I'm morally bankrupt, here it is that actually I'm not even a father. So there is moral issues, moral decadence on both sides of the fence that we must look at. Yeah, I mean, the girl is not, she's not 15, she's not 14, she's an adult. She passed the age of 18, and so she can make her own intelligent choices about who she have sex with and who she doesn't. If she became promiscuous in the process and have multiple relationship, then she must own up to that as well. That is a problem in the Liberian society that we must talk about also.
Mm-hmm.
So on one side of it, there are some issues, moral issues that need to be fixed, because it's not just her.
Right,
That is a cultural problem in Liberia as well.
right.
And then
But Mr.
political,
Kamara,
yeah,
what has been the issue here? Has the issue been whether or Mr. Ali had a sexual relationship with her, that Mr. Ali tried to pressure her for an abortion, or that he was the legitimate father? What was the issue, and what is it that Mr. Ali is trying to clear here?
I think it's a combination of all of the things you just talked about. It's a combination of all of it. At one point, even from the audio we heard, the girl was even relating her religious obligation to not having an abortion because according to her religion doesn't allow her to do such. But at the same time, she using religious reliance to say I can't have an abortion. But at the same time, she consciously aware that she have multiple relationship with multiple men at the same time, right? So Mo Ali on the other side is saying, well, I I'm not prepared for this kind of situation, but now that we're in it, he's owning up to it. I think he's man enough to own up to it. We must also acknowledge that he's. I think he's playing both sides because he has to also be a political person and say, well, all of the opposition, all these people that were against me, here I am. I'm not the father of the child, but I'm still going to be man enough to be the father of this child, which is not a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing. We must give him credit for it.
Mr. Gilman, should we give him credit?
Mr. Mo Ali is a fraud. I have to be very clear. And let me deal with two issues real quick here for Mr. Krumah. He addressed two issues that I would like to look at because it boils my blood when I listen to him say this. When he said, because of the conflict, no. Our society is not at this level because of the conflict. Those of us who grew up in the 60s and the 70s will tell you that every big shot in Liberia has every girl child in Liberia has something called godpa or godfather. It was an established culture that damaged young women. So this is something that have been in the culture. And then on the traditional side, our traditional folks have done arranged marriage with teenagers, some kids before even becoming teenagers, marrying men twice, 3, 4 times the ages. So this is not about the conflict, it's about our culture. Then you're talking about the girl was promiscuous. She had multiple partners. If she was promiscuous, then who was Mo Ali? Wasn't he also? If he had a wife and then had sex with a young girl who he's 25 years older than, isn't he promiscuous as well? So you are blaming the victim here. That's not how I would like to also see this. Mr. Mo Ali, knowing exactly as an older guy, knowing what the unintended consequences of sex, the unintended consequences of unprotected sex, not only babies, but other things that could cost you your life. We talk about AIDS. You talk about venereal diseases of all kinds. For the man who is an elder, and from what I understand, he's either an imam or something similar in his mosque. He's an advisor. These are not people that you will say he did something or somebody tried to entrap him. This is a man, an older man who took advantage of a young lady and something happens. Now let's look at the DNA. We know my nephew, we are in a very similar situation with my nephew. A girl accused my nephew of having a baby. She was pregnant for the boy. For the past 40 years, we have taken care of the baby. When we decided to send for the child to come to the United States, we went to the U.S. Embassy. We did the DNA. The DNA came back. The child wasn't ours. Fine. But for the past 14 years, we are the only parent that this child has ever known. So I took upon myself to adopt this baby to bring the child to the U.S. That's what responsible people do. We didn't go look for the mother and smear her name everywhere and say she was promiscuous and our culture did this. No. For an older, these children they were only 2 years apart, 21 and 22. This is a man who is in his 40s having sex with a 19 or 21-year-old girl. So let us be clear here. Mo Ali, now that he's doing this, when he announced his candidacy for Representative District 5, to put out there is a small screen, and it's a terrible thing for men in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kessley, how political is this issue? And let me preface that with, there are people who say, hey, you shouldn't discuss this, right? Because it is not important for Liberia, because we do not think that the social fabrics in our society, or because most of us, especially the men, we are engaged into some action, so we don't want to talk about it. It's not important. The only thing we should talk should be who wins the next election, and we should neglect the social issues. How important is this issue?
Yes, we're getting some kind of feedback from you. I don't know if you got something else on, but
that Aliu, that Aliu got the feedback. So Aliu, so how much politics is in this, Mr. Kessley? I know you're a politician.
I mean, before I go to talk about the politics of days, I mean, I don't think people should be disappointed that we are talking about this. Uh, this borders on the Liberian society in general, and for it to have garnered such controversy in the society, that means it has a lot that people want to talk about. It also unveils a lot. I mean, if I'm looking at the two individuals, Mo and Agostina, I'm somewhat more disappointed in Mo Ali's recent action. I think it is irresponsible to a greater degree. Uh, and I mean, as Mr. Kroma was saying, this looks like a payback, owing to the fact that Mr. Kroma is a good friend of Mo Ali. I think they were looking for an opportunity to pay back. But Mo should have taken a greater or a higher ground in this situation. Regardless of what happened, uh, Agostina did not tell the public that she deliberately took the recording of the conversation they had and put it in the public that brought about the first controversy. So for Mo to have done a DNA test and put in the public out there to prove that, I mean, he's getting back at the girl and try to make her look ugly, he did not look at the child. And for me, that's why I believe he acted very irresponsible. Because look, that child gonna grow up tomorrow. Even if the child is not his and he doesn't want to do anything for the child, he should have kept the result of the DNA to himself, or he shared with the girl, and that's sufficient, and let her know that he will probably not be supporting the child any longer, because the child is not his child. But to have brought it out to the public because he wants to get back to her, I mean, that was irresponsible, and that has put this child's life, at a very tough spot. I mean, when he grows up, he'll have to contend with this. This will be on him. I mean, you put a smell on this child everywhere he go. The moment he gets into an argument with someone, they will probably remind him of how his whole birth and his upbringing is controversial. I mean, it's unacceptable. And the statement Mo made, I mean, that's just post screen, literally just to buy public sympathy. And I don't feel sorry for him. He acted irresponsible. He should have kept the DNA result private and shared with the girl. He had nothing to prove to the public or to prove to anybody. It had already happened. I mean, you were married and you had sexual affair with this girl. I mean, what will you do now to prove to us that you are morally upright? I mean, I don't get the logic in this. It was irresponsible to say the least.
But I don't know if we know he's married though. I hear that
he is married. He is married.
Mr. Kamara, first of all, can we trust the DNA result? Is it credible? Do we have it? Number two, who leaked it? Number three, what is if this were leaked by Mr. Ali? Why leak it and come back and say, even though I leak it, but don't talk about it? Exactly. Is this double standard, Mr. Kamara?
Well, first of all, let's set the record straight on a few things. At no time has Mr. Gilman adopted any child that supposedly did belong to his nephew, and then afterward it turned out that it was negative. That is not true. Number two, under Liberian law, when a female turns 18,
a point of correction.
No, hang on a minute. I'm
a point of correction.
You spill up everything and nobody stop you. Let him speak.
Glenda.
No, it's not right.
Let me continue.
Respect the man.
No. You got to correct.
Mr. Gamer, when I gave you chance
that's not what I said.
When you spoke, nobody stopped you.
That's not what I said. Because I didn't quote you wrongly.
You have your chance. Go ahead, Mr. Kamara.
Okay, so where was I? Under Liberian law, when a female turns 18, she's a woman. Whatever she done sexually, if it's consensual, there's nobody's business, not even the Hama Empire business under the law. Like in Ghana, they say 16. So that is the law. Okay, at no time Mo Ali did anything that was shameful. For people to say that they're embarrassed of Mo Ali and why he came to the press and this and that, at no time Mo Ali had sex with a girl and went on national television to tell Liberians and the world over that he was sleeping with a girl. But beside his fiance, he's not married. He has a fiance. Beside, 1 minute. Beside his fiance, he did not announce it to the world. How did it come out? It was the same girl and the same politicians like Kessley who used that as a way of breaking Mo Ali.
No.
Now that it has been proven that, first of all, he's not even the owner, he's not even the father of that child. It was also important and necessary that the same public who had been beating on him know the truth. What is wrong with that? But to your question,
what is the truth? When you say to know the truth, what is the truth?
What's the truth?
Well, again, see, they did a DNA. The DNA was questionable in the minds of the girl. Most time they will always deny. So they went to the second place and did the DNA.
What is the truth, Mr. Kamara, so you can get to the point? What is the truth?
But I told you the truth. The truth is that the child doesn't belong to him. I already told you that.
You have the paperwork?
We have the evidence.
Can you why wasn't it necessary for it to be shared to the public?
Dennis, can I speak to some of the things that
no, Ali is not complete yet.
Yeah. Why was it not necessary for it to be shared? If we could hear verbally, why didn't we attach the proof to the verbal notice?
Well, listen to this. What's the name? Liturgy or however it's, I don't know. But
anyway, you call it.
Okay. So the girl in question was on different radio stations about this pregnancy that Mo Ali told her to abort the pregnancy, right? So if Mo Ali is lying now that the child doesn't belong to him, where is she now?
So, but let me
hold on, Blenny. Ali, I want you to go to the question. There were three things happening here. Mo Ali did not deny sleeping with her. Mo Ali did not deny trying to get her to abort.
Yes.
Right?
No, he did not.
Right. So the only truth you're talking about now is whether he's the father or not.
That's the question here. I challenge you.
That was not the major question here. That was not the major issue here. Okay. So, but go ahead. Can we trust the DNA result?
Yes.
And why?
Because it was done 3 times, and the reason it was done 3 times was to prove beyond all reasonable doubt.
Do we have any of those results? Those 3 results.
I can tell you right now. Is that you are very good at getting in touch with very important people. This girl in question, Agustina, I challenge you to get in touch with her, and she'll give you the result. She has it. She has it in her possession.
You're coming to us, Mr. Ali, and saying to us you believe this result. So it means that you've seen it. Can you share it with us?
What I can say.
I think you guys are being unfair to Ali here. You know, Ali is not more Ali. You know,
no, it's not. If you can't,
but you guys are grilling. You are grilling Ali as though he is.
I can't even complete a sentence.
Let me go to. I will come to you, Mr. Kamara, Mr. Krumah. Let me go to Mrs. Moba here.
I can't even complete a sentence.
Mrs. Moba, what's your take on this?
Well, well, first of all, I don't think it was necessary after the information about him sleeping with this girl was all over the social media, and everything came down. He, after everything that happened, he admitted that this girl was his girlfriend, whatever went on, but he accepted responsibility at some point. So when I read the statement from him, I was wondering, what was the point again, reawakening everything that was dying down? First of all, he admitted in a statement that he's going to be there for the child. All right. What are you going to be there as a father? Okay, so that means he accepted the child. So why tell the public that this child is not his child? And we don't have the DNA to make sure whether this child is not indeed his child. So he made the whole situation complicated than it was before, because we have forgotten everything.
Right, Alice. Here's the issue. Mr. Ali is a public figure. Currently, he's running for office, and the situation with this girl seems to be a dark cloud hanging over him, and it might come up in his elections. So, I think what he's trying to do here is to clear the air that indeed I accepted responsibility, but the girl actually lied on me. So, to whatever it's worth, but it's political, right? He's trying to clear his name because he's running for office.
Yeah, but it's going to happen both ways. There are other people that will say he's only doing that because he want to run for office. So it could still be true. The child could be his child, but because he's running for office, he could say now it's not his child to buy public sympathy. So either way, he's going to be grilled.
And the second part, because as a woman, does the girl have some responsibility here?
Absolutely.
Well, we don't. She has responsibility, but we don't know what the relationship right now is between she and Mo Ali. We do not know. So maybe she decided to be quiet about it. But something like DNA, if you know you're not going to share with the public, why talk about it?
Right. But from your and let me tell you, you are a nurse, and Glendy too, a nurse. So is it possible that this girl knew already and was trying to withhold this and using this to, as the politicians say, blackmail Mr. Mo Ali, even though they had a sexual encounter? But do you think that she knew she was?
Well, it's possible. It is possible she knew, and also it's possible she didn't know. All right. So she decided maybe the person that was basically there all the time, it could be the person she decided to give it to. But then if she had another person on the side or whoever was on the side, she didn't know, she couldn't tell, depending on how, what was the frequency between these two people that were involved in a relationship. So maybe she got confused. And Mo Ali, being.
So
what is it? Say that again.
Complete your thoughts, then I can go to complete your thought.
Yeah, so like I'm saying, it's possible that she knew, or it's also possible that she did not know. Why if she encountered two people at the same time on the same day? She would be confused. Right. So I mean, I can't say she knew or she didn't know. So both ways is possible.
Thank you. And Glendy, according to the health practitioner, there is a window, and it's possible you encounter 2-3 persons within that time. So, but what she was charged with, and people came out, especially politicians, calling her all kinds of names. Do you think that she was blackmailing based on what you do as a nurse, or she probably didn't know, because even women in their 40s still can't really tell some?
So I want to be fair, and I want to be fair to Mo Ali. I will say, considering all factors, I can probably say that maybe there was some political motivation there, because Mo Ali is not just an ordinary political figure in Liberia. He's with Unity Party. This is CDC. This girl's uncle is from CDC. I also want to say that, and it's kind of sad that we're talking about a young woman with multiple sexual partners.
We don't know that, Glendy, that she had multiple.
We don't know.
How do you not know that, Dennis?
We can go.
Because I don't have any DNA result with me here.
Which is true. We can go based. Okay, we don't know. Allegedly, right. We can say. Because
is 2 considered multiple, or it gotta be 3 or 4 before we say multiple?
2 is multiple, brother. Right. 2 is multiple.
Okay, let's go.
Anything more than 1 is multiple.
Right. I just want to be clear.
I think we have to look at it from our perspective. That is possibility that her uncle influenced her, or that the CDC factor played into this. That, of course, that maybe there was a trap for Mo, and Mo fell into the trap because she was a young woman and she was beautiful. It's possible. We don't want to erase that, but it's also possible that I think that she knew. If she is in that close proximity to Akara's grave, with CDC, and knowing that Akaris Gray knew that she and Mo had a fling, you can rest assured that there was some political motivation there. Rest assured that it was. But that still doesn't accuse her from what
that's an assumption, right?
Dennis.
Yes.
Okay.
Dennis, but
all right.
Here one point that I want to raise, I think is important. Mm-hmm. And I would have really loved to respond to Jerome and Moba, but I will just leave that for a minute. The one thing that I want to say is that there is an intention there that we can't ignore. Mm-hmm. The fact that she actually deliberately thought about having a conversation with Mwali and recording it, there is an intention there. Whether it's motivated by politics, is motivated by any kind of external factor, it was done intentionally. Because if you even listen to the conversation that they're having, you can tell that she's responding in a way that she wants Ali to talk more while she talks less. So there is an intention. People are ignoring this and they're making it to seem that this is a 14, 15-year-old ignorant person who is just been, somebody just used them. I don't think that.
How old was she at that time?
I have 20. No idea. But I know she's an adult. I know.
Yeah, but you're talking about Liberia. Somebody 20 years old in Liberia.
20 adult age in Liberia.
They are still a kid.
So, 20-year-old a kid. Okay, so if this is the point.
We're talking about Liberia.
This is
most people are 20. They still kids.
No, Liberia 20-year-old woman not kid.
Okay, please let up Morris and we got to move to the next issue.
Yeah, so this is where Liberia's biggest problem is. Where our interest lies, sometimes it's difficult for us to divorce ourselves from it, right? There is problem here. We have to acknowledge that Ali shares some responsibility, but the young woman also have a bigger responsibility as well.
More than Ali, are you saying?
More than Ali, because she actually initiated the process to say, I want to call this man, I will take this information, I will put it in the public so people can know that this man slept with me as a young girl. Right. And here is it. This is intentional. All of these were calculated intentionally and were put out in the public. So when Ali comes now to say, okay,
I got to stop you. Because there's a power dynamics here. Okay. Mo Ali is powerful adult. He's a big politician.
Exactly.
So right.
So
and then you are saying.
So then that is justification for an intentional action from her part.
We will get to that action part.
Okay.
So that power dynamics, and we know that how young girls have been exploited in Liberia. Even those of us living America go to Liberia and do the same, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that is a big issue in the country.
That's
and
true.
You are saying in this case, more bear less of responsibility than the 20-year-old.
So I'm not going to measure who is higher and who is lower. I acknowledge that there is a power dynamics. I acknowledge that. That is a fact. The second part is that because of that power dynamics, somebody is exploiting it.
And that's an assumption.
Actually intentionally pursue this exploitation. It's the young woman by recording him deliberately to say, I'll record this man and I'll put it in the public.
Because this is a powerful man. If I don't record it, I have no evidence.
But Dennis,
and I put it in the public.
The powerful man also took advantage because of his power.
Right. Anyway, so, Mama, I want you to 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're just going in circle here because everybody got an opinion about this.
Exactly.
What powerful that is two people on this side. I don't see the point. But let's go ahead.
Power, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. You didn't watch that?
Monica Lewinsky.
Power. Okay. Kasali, please conclude.
Kasali, go ahead.
I mean, I stated initially, most action is irresponsible. I'm not going to change my stance on that. If you want to talk about politics, it is Mo that is now playing politics. Most have taken a higher ground. I mean, this is not just about paying back Agostina. You can make Agostina look bad as much as you want to. I mean, those are two adults. Mo has more financial capital. Mo has more societal strength. Mo is well recognized politically. So if anyone took advantage of the other, it is obviously not the young lady. It is Mo Ali who took advantage of her.
Right.
That's the dispute you want to have. The fact here is that whatever happened, happened. Mo is way older than this girl. Mo is way more responsible than this girl. Mo has more experience than this girl. But Mr. Kromah is telling us here that because the girl leaked an audio, purportedly leaked an audio, because I mean she did not claim that she leaked the audio. She did the recording, but according to her, someone else leaked the audio, not her directly, right? But whatever the explanation is, Mo should have played a greater role, taking a more responsible stance. Because it's not only about the girl anymore. This involves the life of the child. This child could not be yours, but this child could grow up your own son in a certain way. Because of what you would do for him, he would recognize you as his father. Because of how you would stand up for him.
Look, but that one has sentiment now. This was a real issue.
You serious with the conversation? I mean,
but what do you think? I mean, look, I'm not in any way trying to suggest that the girl was right to do whatever she did, but Mo should have played a more responsible role in this situation, considering that it involves the child. He would have gone to the girl, share the DNA result whatsoever. And by the way, I'm not even trying to question the veracity of the DNA because, I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions on that. Let the thing stay between the families and we all move ahead. That was as simple as it was. Now that he has done this, he has raised this issue. He's going to face it more. I mean, he has not fixed it. He has caused more damage.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move to our next topic here, which is the census.
Can I close on this real quick? Because Mr. Kamara said something that was not factual, and I wanted to correct him.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay. Mr. Kamara, I want you to listen very keenly. I don't want to be in any way disrespectful. I said it clearly. I want you to look at the sequences here. I said my nephew, we were trying to bring his daughter to the United States. When she went to the embassy said that the child did not belong to us. And I, in turn, decided to adopt the child because we are the only family she have ever known for the past 14 years.
But that's what I said.
No, you are saying.
I said you said you adopted a child. I said no,
you had your sequence back when you say you don't adopt a child before you do DNA. That's not how it works.
No, that's not what I said. You don't understand.
Right. Okay, so we get that clear.
I just need your I-130 receipt and the child name. Yeah, I-130. Give me the receipt. And that child name.
Aliu, Mr. Jimmy, I believe you.
Mr. Kamara, you say you have the DNA here.
We got to go to the next issue, and that's the census. Let's go to the census. The census results have been released, and according to what we have, this is what we have. The census result have been released. The Grand Cru has jumped from 57,000 to 109, so the highest here is 88%. River G has moved up 86%. Grand Jita is 73%. Monserrado 71%, Bombing 58%, and so on. So at the end of the census now, we know that Monserrado has the highest population, followed by Nimba, Bong, Lofa, Mount Gibby, Grand Bassa, with River Cess switching with River G. Now it used to be River G, the least. Now it's River Cess. And according to the announcement, detailed results, or they call that the thematic analysis, will be done in May. These results have received a lot of criticism. Some for political reason, already looking at Grand Cru and say, how is it possible that Grand Cru can jump like that? But we don't know. Census results are influenced, or when you count people due to birth rate, death rate, or migration pattern, populations can go up or down. So we don't know what is causing the surge in these counties. But people, for one reason or the other, some have put politics in it, some for better or for worse, are not trusting the results. I want us to go around the room, starting with Mr. Kromah. Kromah worked with the Unity Party government, probably was in Liberia when the census, the 2008 census happened. No. Okay, you didn't. So, Mr. Kromah, what's your take on this census? We don't have all the data yet. We don't have the raw data. And I was interested in like the breakdown, how many people in this town and so on and so forth, but we don't have that yet. Should we wait until that is out, or what you make of the data that's being reported so far?
Dennis, just like you, I'm eager to see what the breakdown is. I want to see all the details of it. I don't want to, jump the gun. I'm alarmed, just like everybody else, about why one region of the country population is increasing, even though that is the most isolated part of the country. Our population is increasing while where migration, the incentive for migration is supposed to happen, where most people, it's not even Liberia only, it's almost all around the world. Migration is happening in country where people are moving to bigger cities now. Even
migration is not the only way that the population will go up.
Yeah, that's a fact. So when we look at even the birth rate, the reason for birth rate, if you say birth rate is the reason, the southeast of Liberia is the least part of the country that has access to healthcare. So if you take the maternal mortality and child mortality death in the country as a whole, you will realize that in the southeast that number will be much higher than it will be in other urban areas like Mosurado, Grand Bassa, Nima County, where there are more access to healthcare. So if either case you take, whether birth rate or you take migration, it doesn't make sense to see the southeast population increasing because there's no incentive in Grand Cru for people to go there. It's not like Nima County where you have Meta Steel and you have all these other companies and businesses running. You have paved road that people can run in and out easily. Those incentives are not in Grand Cru County for people to go there. So I'm really eager to see what that full report is before I jump the gun and try to start making some conclusions.
But one thing they have said, because this result we had the last census 2008.
That's
so
right.
Between 2008 to 2022, some are saying, the place is already cut off from the rest, so people are probably just having babies, right? I was born there, I didn't die, so a lot of people may have babies. Secondly, a lot of the people also cross over to Ivory Coast, seeking refuge. Now things are okay, probably they came back, and that could be one of the reasons.
Dennis, this is similar argument I heard in 2012 when the elections were happening, that people were assuming that so many people are coming from across the border into Nima County, and that's why Nima population was much higher than the other parts of the country. Assuming, even if we open the Grand Cru border and we take all the immigration officers from there, in fact, Grand Cru don't even have a border with any country. Grand Cru is inward, it's in country. So it doesn't have any border with any country outside of, that is connected to Liberia, right? But even if Grand Cru had a border with, for example, Ivory Coast, let's say, for example, they had a border, and you take the immigration officer from the checkpoint, and people came inland into Grand Cru, where is the incentive for them to go and live there? That is my question. Why would people be so interested in living in Grand Cru County? There has to be some sort of incentive, employment opportunity. There has to be some kind of investment that is driving people. There is a gold rush. There's gold and diamond there, and people are running into Grand Cru. But if those incentives are not there, then why would they be there? And even if the population increase and there are foreigners there, then we have to account for the foreigners. But what I see, and this is like, I don't want to make assumptions. I'll just keep that.
Thank you. Please keep that. Let me go to Aliyu. Aliyu, what do you make of the census results?
Yeah, a few things actually. Look, the reality is the population has grown, and it has grown everywhere. That includes Grand Cru County. I believe even if the roads are cut off, there are women and men over there, and I can guarantee you they will cohabit. But the thing is, you're talking about double. Okay, so if Grand Cru is doubling,
double is 100%. This is 88%.
But what I mean, what's the difference? Anyway, if you want to be technical, no problem.
Yeah, there's a difference. Oh man, it's not double.
Okay. So why can River G also go 88% too? Why only Grand Cru?
River G
went up 88%. River G close to 88%.
River G went up 86%, just like Grand Cru. Yeah. And Grand G went up 73%.
Yeah. Grand G went up 73%, and all the people went up like that with that kind of percentage. Well, wonderful. But let me just tell you this. I have a house somewhere, on a highway. Nobody lives in it. The fence is closed, locked. All the iron gate on the house It's locked. I sent people there to go cast the yard, and the one that they saw your people now mark the house. Okay, it's a 5-bedroom house. So how many people did they put on their little book that live in the house? How many men? How many women? How did they determine how many men were in there or how many women were in there? They only assume. They say, okay, so that 5-room here, that 3 men and 2 women. How they did it? So look, let me tell you, we have had actual technocrats in this field who have said that the Liberia's population, and you guys are right, the population is growing, but the population cannot be less than 6 million. Not at this time. It cannot be less than 6 million. It has to be 6 million and above. And we also saw all of these improprieties. We saw all of these chemistry when these guys were doing the tabulation. We saw people making up manufacturing numbers and stuff. So for me, all I can say, I don't trust the census result. I mean, Grand Crew.
Why? Is it because of Grand Crew?
No.
Take out Grand Crew. What else?
Grand Crew is part of it, but you know, the truth of the matter, we saw these things live. We saw live evidence and stuff, and you saw it too. We saw supervisors who are responsible for tabulation trying to manufacture numbers. We saw that, and you saw those videos yourself. So we have evidence, and we even saw one of the deputy directors being dismissed at the point that he had to flee the country, and he's now in America because he disagreed with the process entirely and said the entire process was fraud. That is coming from within. So I mean, everything indicates that there's something wrong with the census result.
Thank you. Let me go to Mrs. Moba. Mrs. Moba, your count at River G is up. What are you hearing from River G? More babies, migration, or what's going on there?
Well, you know, it's good news to hear that the number has gone up, but I don't know by what means it went up, because nothing has changed so far. We have 2 high schools. There's no college. So majority of the young people that are going to colleges, they leave the county to go to other counties or come to Monrovia. So I don't know. I don't know how many people are having babies, because basically the health care is poor. The roads are bad. So it's kind of difficult, you know, to understand. I mean, it's easy to call numbers, but you have to look at the process and see by what means you reach to this number. But you know, it's not really adding up. But if it is up, well, I'm gonna be happy that it's up. But I'm not convinced by the process by which the number is up.
Mr. Casale, the politician always, you know, they kind of put politics in this because people are looking at voting, and really census is not just voting alone. We talk about the allocation of resources and many other things, right? Even 200 years from now, people go to the census result to see if a boy called John Behe live in Lofa, and you know, those kind of things. So it's very important. But politicians, especially, you know, I have seen most of the people that are saying I was never counted are all politicians. Why are you guys putting politics into this?
Dennis, that's an assumption. I know a few people that said it that are not politicians.
You try to put my back on the wall with that question, so
yeah, that's what I
don't
do.
know what you want me to say. Literally everything I say, people would now consider to be their politics. That's a clever one. But on a serious note, though, you have to blame the government for the controversy that shrouded the whole census issue. From the very beginning, the government handled the whole census very incompetently. There was very serious allegations of corruption. People got dismissed. We do not know how far the prosecution of those individuals have gone. And so the government did not really conduct herself in a way she should have considering how very important the results of the census will be on the general Liberian society. Understand that for the next 10 years, we will be using the results of this census to determine the shift in our developmental drive, where we're going to be paving more roads, where there's more economic activity, where we're having more children, where we're going to build the next hospital. Now, it looks as if this census was primarily made or put together in such a way that the way the president wanted it, that's how it went. Because look at the change in population growth. The census is telling us that we have more men in Liberia than women.
Yeah.
I mean, what paradox of reason is that? In 2008, when we had the census, there were more women than men. So what has happened automatically within the few course of years to now?
That's not true. You're talking about 12 to 13 years.
Okay, yes, but in those 12 to 13 years, what has happened that has killed more women than men in Liberia that will now make the country to have more men than women? Or let's look at the birth rate in the country. Are we having more girls children than boys children, or are we having more boys children than girls children? So look, considerably, the way the results are coming out are the ones that sparking the controversies. There are hundreds of people in Liberia who tell you we're not counting. I mean, I don't expect the census to count every individual, like citizen. It doesn't happen anywhere. There's no way you'll be able to count every head in a country, right? But the number of households that are claiming that they were not counted, it's quite bigger than the one that happened in 2008. And all of a sudden, Grand Crew, without any needed any much change in economic activity, there's no investment in Grand Crew County. You don't have better electricity or pipeline water. I mean, no economic incentive to be able to pull the
president just constructed some housing estates.
I drove. Quite funny enough, I drove along that route in 2021, and those houses were not even occupied. Well, I mean, the grass was growing among the homes you're talking about. So who is living in there? If you compare even the guest houses in Grand Crew County with those in Nimba, in Maryland, for example, and in Bond County, I mean, the guest houses in Grand Crew are not occupied. You go there, you see dust everywhere. So look, from the top, you see that this census was primarily made the way the president wanted it. I mean, the president wants Grand Crew to win in everything, so they have to even win when it comes to population growth because they have the highest in terms of numbers. So that's just unacceptable. I mean, you would say it's a politician's view, but no. Let's be very honest. You cannot just come and tell us all of a sudden Grand Crew has taken over River G now. Grand Crew is way ahead. You cannot tell us that there are more men than women in Liberia. It makes no sense.
Right.
That would be the only country in West Africa.
I mean, and there are only 40 countries in the world that have more women than men. So Liberia has joined that number of countries to make it 41.
And most of the people arguing with this women and men are all men. I've never seen any woman argue say there are more women. So what your incentive here? But let me go to Mr. Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, I have the report here of the census, and I'm just scrolling through here. As you can see, these are just highlights. We still don't have raw data here. And 53, almost what is going on here. The trend. And what I also did was I checked the World Bank projection, and it was not much different from what I'm seeing here. Even the way they are comparing with other countries, and then you see here, you always making political statement. Census is so. If I went through the report, I saw a lot of similarity with the World Bank projections, and I was having the feeling: is it possible that these guys really didn't do a thorough job and just copy and paste some things here? I was thinking about that, but I don't have the facts, so I'm waiting for the breakdown so that we can crunch the numbers. Because if you tell me in your Paye, these are the number of people there, and then I call my friends in Paye, Lufa County, and they tell me, because I call a lot of people. My son in Lofa said his entire community, not just him, not just his household, but his entire community was not counted. Few people that I call in Monrovia too, some say it was like a 50-50. But outside Monrovia, I have one who said they were counted and 3 that were not counted. Did the government really bring this upon themselves? Because looking at all the issues we have had, for which the census was postponed multiple times, I mean, out of a sudden, all these issues are resolved, and within no time, boom, census is done. You think the government kind of created the situation so that people will have doubts?
No, not really. What I think here, and I think I was disappointed to some degree because I thought before the census, I thought that our population would be way, way higher than what it is now. From the last census, 2008 to 2022, you cannot tell me that we have less than 300,000 people added to.
And Mr. Gilman, just to add, and that's why, like, they're just trying to make that fit the projection that was made, 5.4, and they say, let's just bring it down small, 5.3. So it's that's what my suspicion.
Yeah, all of these are all suspicions, like I said, but we have to trust the process because that's the process we're going to use. And when we're talking about census, it is in my area of understanding. When we do social statistics, some of the things that we do is a forecast and projection. And one of the things that I wanted to bring your attention to is most of us that have lived in the United States, you will hear they say CNN or MSNBC have 8.9 million viewers at this hour and that hour. And AC Nelson does this report. And if you and if I were to ask you how many times have AC Nelson have ever contacted you or ever put a device in your TV to account for your viewership, the chances are most of you here, like me, I've been in the United States all my life once, that AC Nelson came and put a device behind my TV for a whole month. But they do that and they do a projection, and for some reason it adds up, and based on that, they quantify it and is monetized. So there are ways where everybody will not be counted, but they have a method to this. Was I disappointed that we are not close to 7 million? I am, because I know we are more than 5.2 million people. But when it comes to population growth, we know very well in sociology, there's something we say upward mobility. The more upward you are, the more educated you are, the more professional, the less children you have. So I wasn't surprised that Grand Bassa County, some of us that came from a family of 12 now having 2 kids. And Ms. Juniors will tell you, in her family, they are having less kids than when she was born. But in my family, my brother is the vice president of the university there, and he got only 2 kids. So the upward mobility has a lot to do with that as well. Now you go to other places where you go to rural areas where we're doing agriculture and all of that. You got incentive for having more children, multiple wives. So yes, it is possible that in the leeward counties that they have more children than those who are in developed counties.
Right. And the census data also said that population growth is in the urban area than the rural area. So somebody was asking, well, is Grand Crew an urban area? And then the answer I got was, you have more cities in Grand Crew than anywhere else in Liberia.
Holy cow.
You can see a hut of 3, a village of 4, 5 huts, and it says city. I had to, my father's village had like 2 huts, but believe me, I was supposed to be living there, but I'm not there now, but it's still a city. So we don't know what urban mean now in that census, whether if you go somewhere there, especially in the southeast, where most of these villages are cities because they have city mayors and all that. But Glennie, what do you make of this census result? And then the way this is greeted with noise, and I don't see people coming up with kind of facts to say this, except that it's Grand Crew and the president is from Grand Crew. I don't see someone looking at other data points and say, well, how can this be? Because in 2018, when we did this survey or when we did XYZ, here were the number of people, how can we have this? People are just saying, oh, if you go to a nightclub, the place is full with girls more than boys. So it's not possible. I really have not seen any counter. What are you saying? Are you seeing some strong points to really reject the result or cast doubt on the result, or people are just talking politics here?
So I want to be honest in this. I really have not familiarized myself with anything about census before now. And not meaning now, before Aaron Davis, who worked directly with Legis, came out. And I made it my business to follow him on every platform he's been on, because I wanted to have an informed background on what he has said. And so my response will be related to what Aaron Davis said. He is the one
Alex Williams. His name is
Alex Williams. Alex Williams said he is the one that the Liberian government sent to school to learn about this. He worked directly with Legis, and what he has said up to today's date is that the census is bogus. Number one, the first thing he talked about, the night census or the night of the census, something he described. One of the problems he said with this census was that they were all not conducted. They all did not start at the same time. He specifically mentioned that Grand Bassa County census counting started 4 days later than the census original did. Today he said there are 4 things. There are 4 things that you can look out that justifies the growth in census. He talked about birth rate, death rate, air migration, and immigration. He narrowed it down to the southeastern region and said that if there is no business there, if there is no country next door to Grand Crew County, where is this growth coming from? And according to him, there's nothing that can justify that the growth in the southeastern counties are substantial. He also compared it to Nima. He said he was surprised that they're saying that Grand Crew has a higher percentage of growth than Nima County, when Nima County has a lot of businesses. The next, they have neighboring countries, and that they also have hospital and other things. So my response is, if he who has the technical knowledge is saying that he does not believe in the census, I want to believe what he's saying, that this is bogus and this is wrong. And so the noise even started before the census started, because of course there were people in the beginning said that they weren't paid. There was the corrupt practices in the beginning. There were people in the beginning also that were holding I learned today that I think 33,000 of the iPads were borrowed from Ghana. That the Ghanaian government borrowed the iPads that we use for census today. So it's like until we can hear the detailed explanation of how it was conducted. And then something jotted my memory also now is that when I heard that this census report is almost a direct copy and paste from the World Bank, I actually went and started calculating numbers. And it's like within 2%, some of the numbers are within 2% increase of what the World Bank numbers are compared to what Liberia went. So until they explain it, then we can directly say that this was a copy and paste census. But for now, I'm going to rely on what he is saying. Mr. Williams is saying that this is bogus and it was not done correctly based on what he knows.
But and based on those things you explained, don't you think that's subjective?
Of course, it can be subjective until we hear the objective explanation. But not only that, Dennis, you and some of you here on here tonight have alluded to the fact that there are a lot of people who are still saying that they haven't been counted.
Yeah.
So it's almost like even though what he's saying may be subjective based on how he understands it, we do have objective data from people who are saying my family wasn't counted. Yeah. You got somebody counting a whole house, nobody living in the house, but they counting the building. So what number did they put there for that house? That no one
because it's also a housing census. But Glendy, one more thing too. Don't you think Mr. Williams has an incentive because he broke from the government, right? So he has an incentive to say things to make the government look bad.
That's possible, but I tend to want to believe him because there are times when he started over months ago that he also condemned some of the things that he had done.
Right.
So I want to almost agree that his projections or the things that he's saying, there is some level of objectivity there, and that he's the only one that we can rely on giving us on how to get the census done and what the right way is to do it, because the government isn't saying anything. So we need to wait and hear what they're saying and the explanation on how they did it. But for right now, I think there's a lot of doubts that have been cast on it, and I tend to agree that I don't think it was done correctly.
Mr. William will be reaching out to you. I want to extend you an invitation to come and talk with me right here on Focus on Liberia, because I think we'll do it better here. Morris, let's conclude on this.
Yeah, I wanted to
I have a question for you, and you can add to that.
Okay.
If census is not for elections alone, what do you think would be the incentive for anybody to manipulate these numbers? Is it because lack of money, they're tired, they can go to Grand Crew, or because they want to do what?
And I'm glad you asked the question, because that's exactly what I was going to say.
Man, I know this stuff.
So the census is primarily for two reasons. And Glendy, there are several other Liberians that actually understand this census thing. There's several of them. It's just that not everybody like the social media thing. People like to stay and do the technical work. But there are two good reasons why the census is done in Liberia. One is to know the number of people that are in the country. Two is to decide how development planning is done all across the country, and the number of seats that are allocated to each of the counties, legislative seats that are allocated to each of the counties, right? So it's safe for us to make some assumptions here. One, that if Grand Crew seats, if Grand Crew population grow to a certain extent, higher than the other counties, then it's safe to say that they will have more seats in the national legislature, right? So those kinds of things, we can attribute those kinds of things. I mean, those are just...
Hold on there, Morris.
Yeah.
The population growing, it may not grow by citizens, right? It could be all foreigners that make up that.
Yeah, but so the way they're throwing the number at us now, we don't have the full report.
Yeah.
So most of the things that we say right now will be just based on our assumptions of what the facts are. Because
and I take that back. The redistricting will be based on numbers, whether you are citizens
on the number of people that are the number of people that are in the country. But the fact that Grand Crew, like I said, don't have a common border with foreign country, then it's difficult for us to say the influx of people that are going to Grand Crew are foreigners. Because foreigners have to come through a border country.
Right. You can come through the border and still look for a better place.
Yeah.
Especially,
but if you take, for example, if we take 100 people that cross the border into Nima County, it's not possible for all 100 people to go all the way straight to the southeast. It's easier for us to assume that at least 25% of those people will go in country, and the rest of the people will just stay right around the vicinity of the border. But the other part that I want to clarify is that in 2008, the census in 2008 put Liberian population at around 3.9 million. Let's not forget that. It wasn't 5.2 million. The assumption was that year by year birth rate will increase our population year by year. So if you go on the World Bank website, you see that population number was just growing based on like a 5 plus or minus 5%.
Right.
That's based on the fact that this amount of people.
The projection was for 2023 5.4.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have to take those things into consideration. And I'm not saying it to justify the numbers that the government is putting out, but those are the things that we have to make some assumptions around to see the full report.
Thank you, Mr. Gamer. You conclude on this. This is you are the government guy here, and these people called an elaborate program, which was, I don't know why, and they were making all these speeches and saying all these things. Those are the kind of things that make people to say, what's going on here? I think they were praising like Judy Andy. Nothing against Judy Andy for the visibility. We didn't really see census education, and these are the people they are crediting for providing "quote unquote" visibility.
Well, like I say, we have to trust the process.
But does the government has a history of being trusted when it comes to these things.
You know, we we have always had doubt in Liberia, no matter what. When the Unity Party did the census, I remember the Seditians and everybody else were bashing those folks for the numbers, and I have to be very clear here. What Brother Krumah talked about the censorship and the representative. My uncle Tom Wowoyu was guilty of that. Every little town, every little district in Grand Bassa County, he named the honor child stealer. They made sure that they all became cities. In that, when I asked him why was he doing this, they say it was development, because when you say city, Wisdom City, Wisdom City, we're going to have its own mayor, we're going to have its own budget. So there were cities all over, everywhere you went, like you said, in your district. So it was not only political, but it was financial, and they thought it would bring development. Every city has a city council, city mayor, city budget, and all of that. Now, most of these other places, the population is booming. They may have 3 to 4 more representatives coming their way. That's more money into that. So it may not only be about voting, but it's also about power. Because a Grand Cru, Grand River G, if they put up 4 additional representatives, 9 out of 10 times, 3 out of 4 will be sedition, because they're from the southeast. I mean, you say we should be honest.
For the first time, the agreement is right.
You say we should be honest here.
Yeah.
It's about power.
Honest tonight.
It's about power. Because if Grand Cru comes out with 4 new seats, 9 out of 10, 3 of those will be sedition. If you went to River G, same thing. If you went to Lofa County, the Lofa County people most likely would be Unity Party or something. That's how it is. So it's not only about election, it's about power too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's a piece I want to add to that.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to go into the violence. I mean, the home of the former Chief Justice was attacked, killing one person, sending another person at the hospital. We'll take a short break and listen to Ente Mianta, register to vote.
If you happy with the way things are, then go and register to vote. If you're not happy with the way things are, then you got to register to vote. If you happy with the way things are, then go and register to vote. If you're not happy with the way things are, you better register to vote. Go and register to vote. Go and register to vote, 'cause that's your power. Your power. Go and register to vote. I said, go and register to vote, 'cause that's your power. Your power is in your hand. Don't just sit there wasting time. You got to register to vote. Your vote is your future. You don't wanna be a loser. Don't just sit there wasting time. You got to register to vote. Your vote is your future. You don't wanna be a loser. Go and register to vote. Go and register to vote, 'cause that's your.
That's the legendary Mianta Fambula with go and register to vote. So if you are in the US, go and register to vote, because vote, yeah, that's your power. You don't want to be a loser. Well, there's tragedy in Monrovia. We've been hearing about violence. People are getting killed. The latest here is according to reports, there were armed robbery at the home of the former Chief Justice Gloria Musu Scott. Her daughter was killed, and she herself, according to other people, this was an assassination attempt on her life. That's the news. This is tragedy. This is on top of other reports of violence, people killing people in the country. As I said the other day, my hometown girl, her son was mistaken for a rogue and mobbed and killed. And those are the kind of things that we see now in Liberia. We are wondering what's the incentive. I mean, what's the motive of this kind of thing? Why would anyone go to the home of the former Chief Justice, armed robbery, and you are there killing people? I mean, if you went to steal money and you see people, the next thing a rogue will do is to run away. But now you are killing from one person to the other. You want to kill people. This is kind of strange. There are reports, people are speculating. One of those, Mr. Councillor Jerome Verrier, has been making his round, giving reason why he think that this is happening. And Mayor Jefferson Koji, he accused, came out with his own press conference kind of denying that. I saw other report that Madam Scott has been critical of the WIA government, and so that could be another reason. So people are speculating all over the place. Mr. Gaiman, let me start with you. This is bad news.
Oh, listen, whenever a human being loses his or her life, it's terrible. And let us not just relegate this to the former Supreme Court Justice Scott, because the life of a Scott or her daughter is no different from, like you say, the member of your community that was mob justice, people burn or kill that person. Violence everywhere should be condemned. It's a bad thing. Yes, what's happening there, from what I gather from the police report, and I'm going to quote the police report because they spoke with her personally, and the report, the comment that she made, that she knew this person. This person was not a stranger. This person was part of the workforce, people that were doing some construction work in her yard. And when the guys left, one left behind, and that person was the one that attacked, and she identified the person and all of that. So that is not a random violence. This is violence from within. This is somebody that they knew. So this is a little different. Yes, it's a political season. We call it silly season. Anybody can say anything. But I don't think anybody is going after. I think on one of my posts, I quoted John Dellinger, the former gangster from the United States. When they took him to court, the judge asked him, "Why you keep robbing banks?" He turned to the judge. He said, "Well, I thought you were smart. There where the money is. The money is in the bank. That's why I robbed the bank." So armed robbers usually go to places where they can get stuff. If they were to rob, if they had a choice between the Scots of the world and the Cromans of the world, most likely that would be a fatter target than the Gaymans of the world. So that's how but in this particular case, based on the police report and her own statement, these were people that someone they knew. And then I got very, very disappointed when I listened to Councillor Jerome Verdier. The way he was so graphic in what he was saying tells me that he's totally off. I mean, he's off the chain, he's off the rail. Like someone who is seen now to say somebody, the government sent somebody to the woman's house to sodomize her. This is a vile thinking to say they went there deliberately to sodomize her. Mr. Jai, it is. We are all politicians. We belong to political parties, but when it comes to our country and life, we have to slow down and be objective to some degree. This one is not at all.
Thank you, Mr. Kasali.
I mean, what happened to the former justice is sickening to say the least. But this also should awaken not only the Liberian opposition community but the Liberian society in general. Uh, why Mr. Gamer would not want to allude to the fact that we are in a very heated political season and that Mrs. Justice Scout's stance against the government would have contributed to the attack against her. The fact here is that on two occasions she appeared on public radio and alarmed for fear of her life, and she reported to the police. What the police did was they failed in the execution of that duty. The police got this complaint from her several times, more than once. They only sent a of police officers, they patrolled the community, and they left. I mean, we are talking about a former Supreme Court justice. This is no ordinary person. I mean, when Mr. Weah is no longer president, when the other justices leave, the state ought to provide security for them, particularly in an instance where said individual has already complained several times about their security. The government failed the justice, the former justice. The government failed the Liberian people like they do on several occasions. The police chief should have been fired because of what has happened to Justice Scott. The NSA boss should have been fired because of what has happened to Justice Scott, because they failed to protect her. What you have done goes beyond just talking about election. You have besmirred the reputation and the name of Liberia in the international community. Our international partners are reading such a thing. It will scare away business people. If you cannot protect a whole Supreme Court justice, former Supreme Court justice, what about ordinary businessmen and women? What level of security measures are you going to put in place? I mean, you cannot smoke screen this thing, and people are right to alarm that this is political. I mean, this woman has been very vocal against the government. If she were a George Weah supporter and a sedition and crowd foul and crowd that people were trying to attack her, wouldn't have Mr. Weah protected her? Wouldn't have the government protect her? If Mr. Gamer was in Liberia right now and he complained that somebody want to attack him, I can assure you they're going to assign police officers to Mr. Gamer. Even though Mr. Gamer has not played any significant role in our government before, and he holds no political stake in Liberia, they are going to protect him simply because he is a citizen. And
Mr. President, I want you to conclude with this. I'm not trying to bring politics in there, but we can't avoid it. Because of what is going on with the government, people are always talking about alternative. Has Mr. Cummings put forward anything closer to addressing these kind of issues? How does Mr. Cummings intend to do it differently so we can have this kind of scenario? 1 minute, please.
I mean, that's a loaded question. First of all, under a Cummings-led government, we will have a more responsible police force. What we see here is that
did he ever say that, and how he said he's going to do it?
He said out times without number that we need to pay our police more, we need to equip our police more, we need to train our police more, we need to get rid of the partisan posture of the police force. I mean, as I was saying before you asked your question, if this had been a sedition or a CDC supporter complaining that they were afraid for their life and they felt that someone was going to attack them, the government was going to provide security for them. The police was going to assign officers to that person. What led the police to have not provided security for Justice Scott when she had already alarmed for fear of her life? So, I mean, they waited for this to happen and then they provide security police for her after she had already lost one of her, her foster child. I mean, this is unacceptable. This shows that the government is not protecting her citizens and it's basically about who is a citizen or not.
Thank you. Glendy, same question. I know, I mean, the responses here, we all condemn this and it's a tragedy, but the issue of alternative, I mean, what do you think is responsible for this and what needs to happen to solve this kind of problem or at least minimize this level of violence?
So I don't know if if the who I think is responsible is really going to help the situation now. because I think now that this has happened, I hope that the government is putting something in place to protect previous high-ranking government officials. Because for me, it was more of an emotional thing, very emotional thing for me when I woke up to hear this news. Justice Scott and my father worked closely together. And she was like a godmother. She's like a godmother to me. I call her Auntie Gloria. So it was very hard to hear this woman of such high caliber, who could be in any other country working, but decides to be in Liberia to be home working. I don't want to fully blame the government for it happening, but I have to blame them because nothing was in place to prevent this. Not only that, there were 2 instances that she had reported to the government. So we're talking about this direct 3rd incident. The government will be responsible. And I will hope that they've now put something in place to be able to protect these people. But this incident here, for us to go to number 3, for her, the government has to take direct responsibility for happening because she alerted them not once, but twice on her being harassed or armed robbers wanting to enter her compound. So they have to take the blame for this.
Mr. Kroman, anytime you talk about death like this or incident like this, they say, but it didn't start with we are. The same thing happened early time, and this person, and that person. You were there. What's happening here? What's going on? Is it safe to say this same thing happened before and it continued to happen? And Labra just being like this, and it's like we're throwing our hands in the air.
No, this thing that are happening is not what used to happen. I'm ready to debate that with anyone. This is, and Dennis, to be honest, I don't know what else needs to happen in Liberia for Liberians to be angry and demand from their leaders. Because, I mean, we can sit on the show right now and start to name the amount of people that have died mysteriously or carelessly because security people did not show any sort of remorse. And the government did not take any position. And the representative did not summon anybody. Senators did not ask anybody. The entire state, the reason a government is the reason there is a government is to be able to protect the citizens, regardless of whether they're for you or they're against you. That is the cardinal function of government. So forget about the former Chief Justice Gloria Musu-Scott. She's an elite. Just ignore her for a little bit. But think about all the other people that have died. Think about these auditors that died and the president of the Republic of Liberia saying that they were having sex on Broad Street. Mm-hmm. The president incentivized the weakness of the security sector when he gave such a statement. Mm-hmm. And nobody seemed to be angry. Why? This thing would not happen in any other country, anywhere in the world, where people will not be in the street right now demanding action from the public officials. I'm not talking about just the president. I'm talking about from the representatives, the senators, everybody, even the political leaders, the opposition leaders. They are not spoken. They're just everybody mute. Are we socially conditioned? Are we socially conditioned to just accept everything now that is happening in the country and just say, let's just wait for election? Why should we be waiting when people's lives? This young woman could have been another minister or a president or somebody. Mm-hmm. Her life was cut short. And nobody got arrested. All the other deaths that have happened, the auditors, nobody know what happened to those people that killed them. The EPS officer, nobody know how that person, nobody have been arrested. Why are these people dying? Nobody getting arrested and nobody cares. Nobody have said anything. What is wrong with us? Are we just accepting the way situation is? Let's just wait. October will go and go. No, we need to demand more. And I don't know why things are happening the way they're happening, Dennis. I don't know. But these are the triggers of conflict. These are the things that can trigger conflict again.
Aliu, politicians are speaking. For instance, I saw tape where Councillor Gonglo was at the home of Mrs. Justice Scott. I think Mumbai is saying that Mr. Cummings spoke about it. I believe the Unity Party also. But what else can the politicians do? Does Bwaka have a plan here? Well, what is he saying about this kind of thing? How is he going to fix it? And how is he holding this government accountable so that these things don't continue to happen? I know you are not speaking for Bwaka, but you're Papa.
Okay, so first of all, let's clarify here. Mr. Gilman said that Councillor Gloria Scott did identify the corporate. That is not a true full information. She suspected someone, but she did not identify the person who committed the crime. Then, as per your question, I think this is how we enable the government. When people campaign that they're different and they are the change that the society has yearned for centuries, and they are the best government since 1847. Mm-hmm. And then they cannot live up to their paramount duty, which is to provide protection, to protect the citizenry. That's the first duty and responsibility of the president. And they can't do it. And then somebody say, what will Buckeye do? What will Comey do? Why did they elect the fellow in charge right now? Mm-hmm. So if you want to know what Buckeye will do, what Comey will do, 2023, make them presidents. But let me say this to you, Dennis Jah. What is happening in the country is unfortunate, and it should not be happening. I was in Liberia during Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. Yes, people will die, even in the countries that have the most sophisticated digital system. We see that happen in America. In fact, Liberia is not even amongst the most dangerous places in the world. So people will die, people will commit crimes. But some of these crimes are very avoidable now. This is our frustration. If you can have $20+ million at the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs just for your budget, and the police do not have the liberty we used to call kwe or walkie-talkie, I mean, and then you talk about Comey and Buckeye, I think you should leave them out of this. Let us pound on this government to do what it promised to do. That is to provide security and basic social services. What happened at Madam Scott's house should not have happened because she had made it known to the government. She is a state woman and she is entitled to some sort of state recognition, which they totally ignored and did not give her any form of incentive. And now everybody talking, oh, we are sorry and this and that and the other. We are sorry doesn't cut it. She's lost. Somebody have gone forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Let me go to Alice here. Thank you, Mr. Kamara. I know you say don't talk. I mean, we have been beating on the government, and you have joined us too for the past 5 years. So people are now, some are saying, well, you know, maybe nothing is changing, so we want an alternative, and that's why the question always come in, you know, so that first of all to hold the government accountable and be able to provide an alternative, a stark difference. But Mrs. Momba, what do you make of this this incident, this tragedy? What's going on here? How can we fix it?
First of all, I want to extend my heartfelt sympathy to the family of the girl that was killed. And to Mrs. Scott, you know, it is a tragedy, to be very honest. That should not have happened. The woman served the country in the highest position, and I think it was prudent enough for her to have had security, especially after that happened 2 times. But the reason for which security was not provided to her, I cannot say that, but I think people need to consider that when people give their time under very difficult circumstances to serve our country, after that service, I think, you know, it is the duty of the next person in line to respect the government officials that have served our country. Besides that, she's a lady. I mean, for God's sake, being a woman was one thing that they should have looked at when she complained 2 times, that somebody would have had compassion to send police to the house, at least 2 police to guide her family. That was not done. And so I think really the kind of way violence is going on in Liberia is sad. If that can happen to a very high profile woman, then who will be safe in the country? The last time I saw people tying another guy, young person, to the motorbike to drag them to death. Why people are so, I don't understand what is going on with our people. But the laws in the country, they need to do something about our laws. You have to enforce the laws. If people did something and nothing happened to them, you will have more people doing that. And so you investigate and punish the people. But if that is not happening, if the police, people complain the police don't have logistics, but all the violent crimes are going on because these people are not being punished.
Yeah.
And so what happened to the lady today or few days ago? I think it's pathetic. It got Liberia's image very tarnished. And this can be prevented by taking action now. If the government didn't take action, I think it's time now that they start considering. And I don't agree with people carrying arms. We're not going to rearm Liberia again. All right? You already got warlords in the Senate, in the House of Representatives. Then you want to give them arms again? I think they should be basing on fixing the country. The judicial system should be fixed. Incentivize the police so they will be able to do their work instead of arming people or rearming people that were disarmed and got elected to offices.
Thank you. If you want to join the conversation, we'll have 10 minutes to allot to calls. 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. We have one caller here, and that's Mr. Elvis Morris. Mr. Elvis, you are live. Quickly to the issue.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John, and hello to the panelists tonight. I just want to comment on a couple of issues. Firstly, I want to talk about the census and housing. The census. I just want to do some quick rudimentary math. For example, percentage and numbers in terms of growth is relative. Take a place like Nimba, for example. Maybe it has 650,000 people. If they grew by 64,000 people, that's only 10% growth. You have a place like Grand Crew, if they grew by if they have 100,000 people and they grew by 54,000 people, that's 64%. So relative to when people hear the large percent, they think it means that the population grew more than the population in Nimba in terms of the sheer number, but it's not the case. So people shouldn't just think that being that it's Southeast, nothing is going on there. It's a backward place. It's a leeward. It's undeveloped. It's just people not thinking about it. So anytime any news comes from there, it tends to be a shocker for most people. So I'm not saying that the census is completely accurate, but the reality is that those numbers could be accurate based just simply on percentages, not in terms of total number of people. Yeah. So people shouldn't just run quick to a conclusion. Yeah. And then secondly, I'll go to the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice situation. Let's be honest. Unless I want to make a clear call to all the Zogos and the armed robbers that they shouldn't attack any political figures because then it will be taken to be, a political hit. These people don't care if you're a politician or you serve in government before. They want, like Mr. Gilman made that point. They want the money. They go, they say that it's about the money. Stupid. If you're an armed robber, you're looking for money and valuables. And people who have those kind of things are people who are in political offices or people who were doing well in the country. And she was somebody who did well. And let's just look at it. You telling me that woman is not able to afford security for herself? If she had such high profile positions in our country before? Not saying that, it's not political, but politicians and people who are in our political realm are not immune from getting armed robbed. They're not immune from crime. The sentence in our country affects everybody, whether you're higher class or lower class. So let's not attribute, armed robber coming in her house for being a political hit or something like that. Nobody is immune from armed robbery. A lot of us and our family members have been affected by it. So let's not just say because we're not politicians, that's why they're armed robbers. So I just want to make those few points, and I think Mr. Ali, and lastly on the Mo Ali issue, when Mr. Ali, when Mr. Ali was talking about his house being counted, nobody in the house, is a house in census as well. They got to account for your homes, all the amount of homes in the country. That's why they mark your homes. It's not that means they counted the people in the house, even though it was vacant. So I think that was an elementary point that you missed. But good show. We're listening offline. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We don't have any more color here.
Can I respond to Elvis?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I don't know if he has really followed this former Chief Justice story, and I will hate to leave here and not correct him on some stuff. This woman was the first female Supreme Court Chief Justice of Liberia. This woman reported to the police twice. And after the second time, when there was no response, she hired her own security. So it wasn't that. And number two, when they went to the house, they didn't take money. They took documents. They took computers. They took phones. Even the first time the armed robbers chased her when they stopped her in her car, they took documents. So it wasn't about money. And I don't think he needs to look at it like it's an ordinary Zogo armed robber situation. It's not. I think he needs to follow it more and get more.
I don't respond to Iris.
On this particular situation.
Mr. Ja, real quick, Mr. Ja.
Go ahead, Mr. Gibbon.
Oh, okay. I have the police report here, the release, and I'm looking at it. We have to be very careful. Let's wait let all the evidence come in. One of the things that they talk about here, when you talk about documents, she alluded to the fact that she's in the middle of a very serious case, and the case is between Liberty Party versus the Liberty Party. So while we don't want to come out with anything else, there's a major fight between the Ability folks and the Nyobli Kanga folks, and she is the lawyer for the Nyobli Kanga folks. So all of these things are factors that we all have to look at. We have to wait until the evidence comes in. But what she said here was she observed this guy in the house.
Mr. Gibbon, what did the police report say that is before you?
Okay. For a short one here, it says here.
Mr. Gibbon should share whatever he's about to read.
Okay.
Hold on, send it to you.
I can send it right here. Okay. It says here.
Please send it so we can read it. Somebody
read it. Not read that together. Yeah, Mr. Gibbon, go ahead.
Police reported that the former Chief Justice said she had observed during the day that a man who was looking somewhat strange attacked her family at night and killed one of her daughters when he was tackled. Okay, this is it right here. I'm going to send it to you. So if this man was tackled, okay, and all of that, according to the Chief Justice herself, there were no evidence of a break-in. There were no forced entry. So it's an inside work. So
Mr. Gibbon, you already told us to wait for the report to come out. So let's wait. Let me take another caller.
Yeah, let me send it.
And then I think even adding to the statement, because I just shared the statement, those words that he added, they're not included in the statement.
That's
right. I just shared the correct statement from the police.
It's right here.
Now you see why I can read it.
Just share in the chat.
Dennis,
hold on, let me take one more caller. We have two callers here.
Mr. Moliva, where is your email address?
I'll send it right now. Please
send it in the chat room.
Send it.
Mr. Darling, please go ahead.
All right. So I think people are missing it. Like the issue that we should be addressing here tonight is Mr. Ali on record coercing and harassing a young lady to abort her pregnancy should be the issue that we should be discussing here tonight, not DNA. And these are some of the reasons why a lot of people are not taking Joe Baga seriously. When this issue on the news broke, where Mo Ali was here on a tape asking this young lady to abort her pregnancy, Mo was the Secretary General of Unity Party at the time. And Mr. Baga sat there and did nothing about it. First of all, if Baga was a serious-minded person, he would have fired Mo Ali right there with immediate effect. But Mo Ali says his thing until they went to election. And so you pretty much tell me, people are here complaining about Mr. Where is this, Mr. Where is that? But your government is waiting. So Baga sat there and listened. This was all what it is. He can't tell people that he doesn't know about it. So we should not be discussing DNA. We should be discussing about the moral of the issue. Mo Ali asking a young lady to abort her pregnancy. So today, the so-called, we heard that DNA result is already. Okay, why is this guy had yielded to his demand and aborted her pregnancy? Mo Ali, so we can say clearly that he would have just killed another man's child because of his selfish interest. So we should not be, people shouldn't be bashing a young lady. We should be discussing the fact that Ali arises get to abort her pregnancy. This is the topic of our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take our last caller here. That's Mr. Kesali Double. Mr. Double, you're alive.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. John. Let me say thank you. I really didn't want to call on the show. I was sitting by just listening tonight, but Everett actually made me to call on the show, and I want to talk to my fellow caller. If we are following the show and just listening and we don't want to say anything of the show, it's better we just stay out. Then to call and make people that we want to look at it to say we don't even know what's going on around the world. Social media have made the world to look too small. Even if you were not on a scene and something happened, social media made it to look like you were right there when the thing occurred. So for everyone to come and be saying from listening and you think about what happened to the Chief Justice, I mean, I'm thinking about it. Tell them what. It is sad. Very, very sad. I mean, the statement you're reading it seems to be like you are reading your own statement. I think you wrote that first statement. Because the first statement the police wrote that we have in our possession, it said nothing about someone being in the house. So it seems to be like you added your own sentence. So whichever you added to it, that's some pattern from there. And give the original president so they can read it.
I just shared it in our chat room. I shared the information in our chat room. Read it.
Being the simple goodness. What's happening in Liberia today, it will happen to any one of us, and let's start doing these things. Because tomorrow, when these guys go to kill people, they don't kill one person. Others who are very part of the CDC have been victimized. So when it happens to other people, let's see these things in the right manner and let it be discussed so it don't happen tomorrow. Yeah. This thing is not about Unity Party, it's not about thinking, it's about Liberia and Liberians. They are driving our investors every day as these things happen. Can we think about these things every time? We're crying. Investors don't come to Liberia. But then when we come on this platform, we support these things that happen. Come on, man. Let's be Liberian for one.
Thank you, Mr. Double. Passionate statement there from Mr. Kesali Double, aka River Says Pro. All right. Time is fast spent. I want you to let's wrap up. We have 6 minutes to close, and we have 6 persons. So 1 minute each for your closing comments, and you can respond to the callers as well, if you can do that within a minute. Let's start with Mrs. Malba.
What's the situation that occurred with the lady in Monrovia, the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice? It is so sad, and I think people should look at it very carefully and give her some support in terms of security. And for security, for the rest of Liberia, we need security. We need the laws to be strengthened so that people that commit crimes will have to face the full weight of the law. And I think Mo Ali should leave this whole topic about the girl. He did what he did. He had the power, he had the money. And so I think he took advantage of the girl. And once the child was born, whether the child is not his child or not, he should take responsibility as he said he was going to do. But leaking or somebody leaking DNA is not proper. And I think they should move on and take care of their family as he promised to do. And so, again, the show was nice. Those are the most important things. Census, whatever it is, we will accept it and then we use it to improve on it next time. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's be clear here. As of now, Mr. Gaiman, there's no police report, right? These are newspaper report talking about what happened, right?
Yes.
The one you sent me, it came from Lena.
Yes, and that was the police spokesperson doing the press
That's
release.
different from a police report,
That's
right? Lena is quoting somebody.
Quoting the police spokesperson, Mr. Carter, yes.
All right, that's a newspaper report. Another one is from the News Public Trust. Another one that is sent to me here from News Public Trust. So
there's
this report.
There's a statement, Dennis. There's a police statement. I tried to paste it, but it's not the full thing is not coming
when
out.
When you look in the chat, there's a statement that's on the LMP page. That's the one I shared.
Okay.
There's a police
so the one from the LMP page, we'll put it in this so that we can all read that. Yeah, it's not coming up. So
the full statement can come out, and so
But the full statement started with the Liberia National Police has begun investigation into the incident that took place in Brewerville, leading to the death of one of her children. Madam Scow, who is now under appropriate police protection, reported some days ago in a radio interview that her family had experienced several attempts from suspected burglars to enter her home at night. This report led to... So actually... Yeah, police has now investigated. They're just talking. But according to the reports in the Lena newspaper, they say there was no break-in. So whether they use key to open the door, but let's wait for the full police report and be sure, because somebody lost their life here, and we can't say that was the person lived there with them. But I don't want to engage in
the first time they took the key from the kitchen. I think that's how they got in.
Yeah. So that all those first time they went there, the key. Those are all stories.
Right.
So, Aliyu, you're closing.
What can amaze me is when people call and they talk like they know what they're talking, right? The other guy said Joe Burger is supposed to fire Mo Ali, forgetting to know that Mo Ali was elected. You can't fire him. The other message, they only count a house, they count the people. The both things go together. But anyway, look, let's say this, Dennis. Dennis, do you know that in recent time, George Weah bought 30 pickup for quote-unquote traditional leaders? 30 pickup trucks, brand new. He gave them over 100 motorcycles. And in the city of Monrovia, the police cannot boast of 10 vehicles. And somebody will say Joe Barker and Alexander Cummings. How do they come in? How do they fit in here? The man with the abundance of resource that belongs to even the Joe Barker and Cummings, this man is throwing it around. We saw what he did in recent time at the ATS just to pull 15,000 people. They said they were pulling 1 million. Just to pull 15,000. He was throwing $20 US. Imagine giving even 10,000 people $20 each. You do the math. You think George Weah got that money in his personal cover? So we're in a serious trouble. And I don't think prayer and any form of miracle is going to change this. We have to apply a pragmatic approach. We have to look at the situation for what it is and engage it. I know there are some fundamental or foundational issue that affects our living today, but I think it's time for us to rebuke it and physically go after the ill in society and try to curtail them. Unless we do that, we are getting nowhere. The country is not safe because it cannot be safe. The country is not safe because nobody cares. It has nothing to do with opposition. And Mo Ali, listen, that's his personal life. I'm not going into it too deep. On the issue of DNA result, it is not a confidential document. It's not a classified document. And so anybody can discuss DNA. Any man at any age can sleep with an 18-year-old as long as she consents. So I don't find this to be even anything important to discuss. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thank you. Gwenny?
So great show. I think we touched a little bit of everything. It's always a pleasure to be here. I would hope that the government of Liberia will use this instance with Justice Scott to do the proper thing and do the investigation and put things in proper perspective, and that they will have something in plan so that we're not waiting for people to be harmed before something is done. That little girl was in 12th grade, didn't have to lose her life if the police had acted timely. So we want to say our hearts go out to Justice Scott and to the family. To the census, we're sitting back waiting to hear the explanation of the census. I want to say something about I personally reached out to the president of the Liberian Council of Churches, and I sent a message to him, and I said, Liberia now needs to move to a place where we're tired with all of these press statements. Something happened, they send a press statement. Put a group together, get on the TV, do an interview, condemn it physically, let people see you. So yes, put a statement. I think Mr. Cummings was out talking. What would it have taken if all of the political party leaders would have done a press conference that day together, along with the Council of Churches, to condemn this? I think they need to do more, because most of the press conference, those press statements, nobody reading them. It has no impact. They get together, they put a bunch of words together, and they send it out there. No one reads it. It just sits there. So I think we need to change strategy so that people see and people can feel the emotions when people are condemning these things instead of these statements. They need to do more. And whether they're together or not, we're still watching the opposition to see what it is that they're going to do. And if they don't do, some people will definitely gravitate towards George Weah, because it will end up like they're not serious. Yeah. So I think they need to have a different approach to these things that are, and now, like for example, the census. If they're hearing all this noise, why are they not saying anything right now about the census? So I think they need to examine their strategies and do something that is much more assertive so that people can feel the emotions instead of writing English all the time. No one has time to read all that English. Thank you. Great show.
Thank you. Cold water speeches here not moving the needle. Mr. Kessler. No.
First of all, tonight has been a great show. We didn't have too much punches going across the board. We kept Mr. Tamer in his little space today. But on a serious note, what happened to Justice Scott is sickening. It is, again, another example of how Mr. Weah has failed the Liberian people. I know people may be frustrated that the opposition in general is not speaking with a single voice, but that does not in any way negate the fact that it is George Weah's failure that is causing these problems. George Weah police failed to protect the former justice, just as they have failed to protect ordinary Liberian citizens. Liberia has become more insecure than it was when George Weah became president. Nowadays, you cannot walk in Liberia with, they kill you for phone, just your own phone. So insecurity is rife in the country. We should not find an excuse for George Weah and say because the opposition is not speaking, so we let George Weah, even though we know George Weah has failed, and it's because of his failure that they are killing our citizens. That is unacceptable, to say the least. George Weah should be voted out. There are better alternatives to George Weah. You do not want the Liberian opposition community to already start having caskets on their head or trying to make Liberia, take Liberia further backward. We already have a government that is failing miserably and has no track record of performing well. Why hasn't George Weah spoken about the issue that involved the death of someone? Why hasn't George Weah taken responsibility and try to fire the police director and show that the police director does his job? We find excuses for George Weah and try to help CDC to get elected when we make these statements. George Weah takes the biggest fall or the biggest responsibility for anything that happens under his watch as president, not the opposition community. No amount of statements or protests or political gatherings would negate the fact that George Weah is failing the Liberian people, and we need to put him out. That is the first thing we need to do if we want to find solution to the problems in Liberia. Thank you tonight.
Thank you.
It's been a great show.
Thank you, Mr. Gaiman.
Oh boy.
I had the urge to address the dead man walking, but I decided to let it be. For the 1%ers in here, I want you to say anything about somebody who's the latest poll in Nima County. At least last election, he had 7%. Nima said now he's at 1%. So the battle is very low. So I won't even talk about that. When we talk about security in the state, listen, there is no way that the state can provide security for all its citizens one-on-one. We are responsible for our own security. Mrs. Scott is a wealthy, renowned, well-to-do person. She didn't even have a camera. She didn't even have a private security in these United States. The only person that gets security in when we talk about the Supreme Court is when you are leaving and traveling. But they do not give you 24-hour service to any of these folks. We know this.
Because the police is working.
The police in Liberia are working too, but they cannot do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give this government credit for all they have done to keep the peace, keep this country peaceful. And the ambassador of peace, Honorable George Weah, this is why he's going to be elected on the first ballot. This man is so good. He's a blessing to Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, great show.
Amen.
Continue doing what you're doing. Great job.
Thank you. Mr. Kroma, you got the last word.
I'm glad I'm not the last. Thank you so much, Dennis. I'm listening to Mr. Gaiman, and I'm bothered by his statement.
You're him good.
Mr. Gaiman lives in a luxury. He lives in lush, in a state where everything you think about that is, that provides him security is there. He doesn't need a personal security in the place that he lives in. He can stay in his office till 2 o'clock in the morning. He get out of his office, get in his car, and drive and go back home. No trouble, no problem. But now he's saying that because even though Mr. Gaiman, annual income is way over $200,000, you don't need personal security. But now he's saying now that Justice Scott, only because she served as Chief Justice, she needs a personal security, which is an indication that the state security has failed. But we'll just leave that for what it's worth. The truth of the matter is that let's be honest with ourselves, right? I really want to see President Weah get replaced in October. I really pray that it happens. But I also see that the opposition needs to be serious. We have to be honest.
True.
We can't say the opposition, we can't take risk with an opposition that is dysfunctional and unorganized to a sitting government that is also corrupt and incompetent. We have to be careful. The opposition has to demonstrate that they really mean that when they take over, things will be different. Because people now are confused about whether to go this evil that they are dealing with. They have to deal with the unsetting of all the rigmarole and drama that is happening within the opposition cycle. We have to be honest. So they have to put themselves together. I really pray that somehow Cummings and Bwaka can get in the room. Nobody behind them, because it is the people that are in the ear that are keeping them, all with all this fist fight. Put them in the room, let two of them have a conversation, and hopefully something good will come out of it. But we really have to see George Weah go, because the country is in 60 miles per hour in reverse. And unless we stop that speed from happening, we're going to have problems continuously. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time, all of you.
On that note, we close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Thank you for watching, and thank you, panelists, for always coming here on Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Good night, and God bless you.
We are Liberians.